the Great Video Maker 50RS, an LED light that is almost perfect for my needs. What's up YouTube, Jason here with Byte My Bits, and in today's video I am actually talking about studio gear, or in particular an RGB light. Now here recently I've been trying to make a few changes, some tweaks to not only my B-roll but also just my backdrop in general. In the past I've settled on these two different colors in the background, blue and teal, and that's because one, they look good, and two, they don't flicker with the really super cheap RGB lights that I bought. And that was actually kind of a thing for me because I was looking at studio grade RGB LED lights and a lot of them were fairly expensive. I mean, we're talking $600 to like $1,200 just for one light. So I waited for a little bit, bought some super cheap landscaping LEDs that change color, but unfortunately the drawback to those is that unless you're exactly on a very specific main color, you have flicker. While some colors don't flicker as much as others, it is still a major issue for me. I spent a very long time with the camera settings, changing different things, trying to figure out how to get different RGB colors to work. But unfortunately, it's just, I bought the wrong LED lights, specifically the cheapest LED lights I could find. So that brings me to the Great Video Maker 50RS. Now this is a 384 LED AC or DC powered RGB or bicolor LED light. It has 192 daylight LEDs and 192 RGB LEDs. It is a 50-watt light bulb that offers colors anywhere from tungsten to pure daylight, or 2000 Kelvin to 5600 Kelvin, and can display just about any color. Just a quick pause here. I say just about any color because everything works in percentages and it's not always like a true fade between colors. Sometimes it jumps. However, one of the key features with this is the ability to change saturation. It's not perfect. There's definitely a big jump from 100% to just 95%, as you can see, but still it does give you a little bit more flexibility in terms of color. However, going back to my flickering comment, and the main reason why I wanted to try this light out is that with its 20,000 frames per second recording ability, it does not flicker no matter what color or what setting you have it set on. And I mean any color. Like, I've spent the better part of like 2, maybe 3 hours going through every different color and saturation and intensity of the light just to see if I could get this thing to flicker, and flicker it did not. And because it is so bright, it does not flicker, and it has a fairly large amount of RGB colors to choose from, I started to think, this could be perfect. This could be my new studio background lights that I will just use moving forward. However, I did run into a slight drawback. I'll get to that in a second though. Before we do that, let's talk about what you get with the light, which again is actually kind of cool, and that is barn doors. Barn doors are very useful, especially if you want to control light. For example, right now I have this light shining towards the camera. Let's say I want to use this as a demo. It's like, oh cool, look at this light. I got a lot of bleed though. That's kind of a big deal. Barn, not barn. Barn, not barn. Okay, it's not rocket science, it's a freaking door, you know? But the barn doors are actually very sturdy. I've only used a few of them before, but this one definitely feels very sturdy. Only thing I don't like is that it's attached by these little tabs. It's kind of a pain in the butt to get on, especially with the completely and utterly worthless thumb screws that comes with this entire kit. These thumb screws have given me more hassle than anything else I've messed with so far. And you use them to attach the barn door to the side of the case, which, by the way, this is all aluminum, feels really solid, and even has like a heat sink design built into it. So, you know, it doesn't, as far as I can tell, get very hot when it's running. Back to the screws, these things are just kind of a pain in the butt to get going. They're really thinly threaded, kind of a pain. But this actually comes with 2 different diffusers, one that's a lot closer to the LEDs and a second one that you can have on top of that. Now the second diffuser on the top is attached with the thumb screws, and this bottom one is actually attached by these spring-loaded thumb screws that don't actually fall out. It's a lot easier to get going, partially because they're very larger threaded than the original ones. But still, it is an amazing design that I wish they would have implemented on other aspects of the entire thing. So the panel comes with two different diffusers, the main diffuser, the secondary diffuser. It actually helps quite a bit. As you can even see from in here, it helps diffuse the light a lot. There's a big difference between having one versus two. So this is going to play a big role in diffusing light, but it also comes with a carrying case, which is pretty nice. I mean, it's not like made of solid steel or anything, but it definitely gives you a little bit of protection while you're transporting your LED light. I mean, actually used it to transport anything because it just stays in my basement, because this is going to be a studio light that I have absolutely zero plan of taking outside of my basement, but still, it is a thing. And as I mentioned before, this unit can be powered via AC or DC, which means you can either plug it into the wall or use a standard Sony battery. This is actually a RAV power battery that doesn't come with the unit, but it is just a standard Sony NF-P battery. So hypothetically, if I did want to take this out, I could. I don't know the battery life, but reading online, I see with the smaller batteries, depending on what colors you're using, anywhere from like half an hour to an hour for full color, up to 1 hour to 2 hours if you're not using every single LED at the same time. Just keep in mind that if you do get batteries for this, one, you do have the option for many different size batteries with these Sony batteries, but two, this thing does not charge the batteries whatsoever. So you will need a battery charger to charge your batteries. It's not going to do that for you. Still though, I like the option. I may never use it, but I do like having the option there. So this light doesn't flicker on camera. It's super bright, lights up exactly what I needed to, and I can definitely finally change the colors in my background to make it at least a little bit different, if not a little bit more interesting video to video. But there is one major downside that I mentioned earlier, which actually has me second guessing whether or not I want to get a second or a third light. And that is quite simply, as you can tell right here, it's on RGB. If you turn it off and then you turn it back on, it goes default to daylight, which a lot of people might think to themselves, Jason, that's just not a big deal. It's going to default to a different color. Who really cares? I care. I have been thinking about building something a little bit more permanent above my head to light up what's behind me. And if I do that and I want to set the color permanently, I just want to be able to flick on a switch to either provide power or cut power off to this unit. All of my LEDs, I can set the color, flip a switch, turn off power to the unit, and whenever I return power, it automatically comes back on to the correct RGB color that I already had set. This light, you have to go in, you have to set it to RGB mode to get it back to the color that you chose. And believe it or not, the lazy Jason to me thinks I do not want to go around, especially if I'm going to get 2 or 3 more units like this so I could color my background in multiple different things. I just don't want to have to click RGB every time I turn on my light. I mean, after all, I already hooked up a smart outlet just so I could turn on all my lights at the same time. Having to go around and turn them all to the right color after turning them on, I just don't like that idea, which really sucks because I love this light and everything it offers, except for that one very small feature that just happens to drastically affect my usage. And while I'm actually on the subject, which I actually demonstrated a little bit earlier in this video, you can turn this light into Wi-Fi mode. With Wi-Fi mode, it does broadcast a Wi-Fi signal and allows you to use an app on your phone to control the color, intensity, or saturation of the light. What's even more cool is you can set up masters and slaves for these lights, and you can hook up multiple lights that all connect at the same time that can all be controlled at the same time. Even though, as far as what I can tell from online videos, if you control one light, they're all exactly the same thing. You don't have the ability to alternate or change different colors for different lights. So, if I had these 2 different colors going on in the background, I couldn't have 2 of these lights with, my background lights and be able to change them with the Wi-Fi app. It's basically just all or nothing. So it really just depends on your situation and how you plan on using them. So in conclusion, I definitely like this light. I want to try to use it in, B-roll or some other situations to try to make my video pop just a little bit. But as it sits right now, I do not have the ability to pick a color, set it for my background, and then just turn on my entire studio with the flick of one verbal command. Instead, I gotta, tell Siri to turn everything on and then go around and click, the RGB color on each one. So it does remember the color that you left it on, but unfortunately it doesn't remember that you left it on color. But nonetheless, all of this is wrapped up into a fairly affordable price of, when I bought it, about $240. But I've definitely seen the price fluctuate a little bit online, so if you want some up-to-date pricing and or some advanced technical specifications, definitely check out the links in the description of this video down below. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, post those in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching, like, and subscribe, and have yourself a great day. Okay, that was stupid.
Welcome to Jason Bites Back, episode number 30. Yeah.
Right now, I have this light shining towards the camera. These thumbs have. These thumb screws. Ugh. These thumb screws. What the? Thumb screws. These thumb screws have given me more hassle than anything else I've messed with so far. And like I mentioned before, this is actually a dual power system, so you have the ability to either A, use AC, or B, use DC, which the way I said that is really confusing. A, D, C, or yeah, I don't know why I said that. Should I re-say it? No, I should not. Yes, I should.